Welcome to Pints with Aquinas. I'm Matt Fred.
It's been a long time since we've done that bit.
I mean, it's pretty mandatory that we start out every episode with some kind of Australian accent. I think that's pretty mandatory at this point.
Or some kind of accent of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
Like
or a musical bit. That's another one we do pretty frequently.
Or that.
Well, it's been a hot minute since we've let in with a musical bit.
It's been a long time since we've let in.
It's been a long time since we've...
What about let?
I'm going to be honest, I don't know where that leaves us.
You didn't do the bit right. You forgot like
I did skip.
Yeah.
It takes away half the fun.
I did skip a word. Speaking of words, I'm undecided on what the nickname for the new Batman should be, because we had Batflex. So
Patman works fine.
is it Patman or Battinson?
Or Sparkle Boy.
Batman instant?
Yeah.
Except
the vampire bat.
His rendition of Batman is not whatsoever sparkly.
No. We just
Far from
saw
it.
it,
Far from it.
last night from recording this podcast. So, and generally positive things.
Yeah.
Genuinely enjoyed it. I would need a second viewing to like really solidify my opinion, but I was pleasantly surprised by it for going in with some amount of skepticism based on DC's current projects and such.
And the trailer.
And the trailers were...
The trailer was highly dubious.
Yeah.
Yep. Although the trailer made much more sense when watching the movie for once. I was like, oh, so that's
what they were trying to say about it.
That was definitely some clickbait, but
a wee bit.
Now I know what they were going for, so...
And I kind of approve that direction, so that's good.
No complaints here, really. I mean,
none at the top of my head, aside from I think Bruce Wayne's haircut was dumb and emo, but and wouldn't be practical inside of that
suit. The whole character was dumb and emo.
A little bit.
So it fit, you know.
Yeah, he was cool as Batman.
You don't like it, but it certainly fit.
Yeah, it fit. He was cool as Batman, significantly less cool as Bruce Wayne.
Yep.
I honestly didn't hate the this interpretation of Bruce Wayne. No, most of them are this phlegmatic socialite. Whereas, you hear it said, here and there in the Batman world, in some of the games and stuff, that he's kind of a recluse. Mm-hmm. He's a reclusive billionaire, which makes sense for someone who's moonlighting as a vigilante superhero.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be sleeping during the day for the most part. So for him to be a recluse makes total sense. For him to be kind of antisocial and emo is logical.
Although when he is portrayed as a socialite, it's always, that's your real mask. It's always a second face he wears for other people. So it's kind of part of that commentary. But this wasn't part of this story, and so the recluse thing made more sense and worked here.
Yeah.
It's a context.
That bit was mentioned at the end, though.
It was.
I mean, they did call that part out, yeah. With the Riddler. But this isn't a review of the Batman yet.
This is not a review of the Batman,
which
we will do
at some point,
soon, probably.
Perhaps if it gets a sequel.
But yeah, Nathan and I watched it last night, and the overall impression of it was positive.
Yeah.
So that's where we'll leave that for now. In my line of work in a school, occasionally I come across things that are kind of funny. So there's on my way over to the break room today, there's this kid. He's, I don't know, maybe like 12 or 13 or something, and then he like does the run and jump and hit your hand on the door frame kind of a thing you do when you're a kid. He's like, whoa, I just hit that for the first time. And I'm like, huh, nice. I was like, oh yeah, I've been used to being tall for so long that I was like, actually, when you first can do that, it's kind of a big deal when you're that age. I found that kind of amusing.
When I went through my major growth spurt, we were between houses. So there wasn't a consistent thing to measure myself up against.
Yeah, that wasn't really. There's not like a frame of reference like size.
Not really. It was constantly moving, just as my height was vertically.
Yep.
Although there was a play area under the stairs that had like our toy kitchen set and stuff. Mm-hmm. Before we started to move, this was 2010, I imagine. I could stand up straight in that thing, and my head would just graze the roof of that tiny under the stairs room. Mm-hmm. I couldn't. I had to hunch to it fit at all in that room when last time I was in that house.
I didn't.
So you were Harry Potter.
I was. I lived in that cupboard under the stairs with my abusive aunt and uncle and my bully cousin. That's my origin story.
And your house elf.
A very large mountain of a man came and gave me a letter and said, "You're a wizard, Harry." And it was traumatic. I'm just Harry.
I don't
know. Just Harry. You're a wizard.
You're going to go to Hogwarts. You're going to get to Holland. You're going to be bloody pleased about it. You'll deliver your meal.
That video is too funny.
Hagrid turns into a Scot.
We had a Harry Potter door in our basement at the previous house.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, we did.
It was mostly full of...
It had Christmas tree in it.
It did have a Christmas tree.
And some old stuff from the previous residents.
Yep.
And I think we might have left some of that there for the following residents.
Yeah, I was like, no problem. I mean, it gradually got thinned out over the course of time.
And my golf clubs are still in the garage of that old house. Despite the fact that I haven't lived there in nigh on 2 years.
Good Lord. Oh. It's been about that, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's weird seeing...
That is absolutely insane.
Yeah, come this summer, we will have moved out of that. Huh?
In 2 months.
In 2 months, yeah.
Yep.
We'll have... That was the date we moved in.
Wild. The passage of time is scary.
Time it do be flying when the fun is being had.
Like, as of recording this, we are just over a week from April, which is just like, where the heck did this month go?
And when we started recording this podcast, we were in that house. You know that?
Yeah, we were. I keep seeing people like sharing their Facebook memories or whatever, because I do Facebook for a living. Otherwise, I wouldn't care. But their Facebook memories of the beginning of the pandemic, because it was, I guess, right around this time. So that's kind of weird to think about how long ago that actually was.
It started the decade out. We're in the second.
Because, I mean, we started the podcast around that time, and then, or just before that, and then we had that Easter at our house, and the only outside world person we saw that day was Riley's mom. Shout out Riley's mom. That was actually kind of fun. I enjoyed that. In between bouts of having an aneurysm trying to play Mario. Which Mario game was I playing?
Super Mario World.
No, that was the one we played with Colton. But
you played Super Mario World.
Yeah,
right.
Super Mario World. Yeah,
and that game gave you an aneurysm. I mean, I guess I forget how hard it was, just because I'd
never played a Mario.
I grew up on that, so like I didn't even know that it was hard. That was just like, this is what video games are.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. I
coming back to it as an adult, I'm like, God, this is difficult. I haven't touched this in 15 years.
One of my earliest gaming memories is playing Donkey Kong Country at my cousin's house, and then like there was like a YouTube. I watched a guy play it for the first time. I was like, yo, this is actually a hard game. Is this where my like desire to play the most masochistically hard games I can came from?
Might have been
Donkey Kong Country. It took us actual years to beat that game.
I believe it.
We got stuck in the snow world for a long time just because the save point is halfway through the world and there's no way to go back.
I think the first video game I ever technically played was Smash 64. Ooh. But it was there was like this parish festival or something, and they had so the cathedral, there's like the old school building next door that they used as like sort of an events thing until they remodeled it. Now it's more of a parish office, but they had a room set up because there was like a carnival or whatever. So there's all these games and like cotton candy stuff and whatever. And gosh, I must have been like maybe 4, not even yet. But somebody had Smash Bros set up in this darkened room on, looking back, it was definitely N64. And I remember I was playing Kirby and I had no clue what was going on.
That is how a great many people begin playing Smash Bros.
Yep.
With Kirby, not knowing what's going on.
And I was quickly kicked off for not knowing what was going on. Gee, 4-year-old kid, figure out Smash Bros. Gosh.
I mean, all you got to do is know the jump button and how to do down B as Kirby.
This is, mind you, this is my first exposure to a video game.
True.
Because such things were not common in our household at that time.
And the 64 had anything but a standardized controller at that point.
Yeah.
There really wasn't a standardized controller at that point. I guess
there was something.
The PS1 controller.
The GameCube wasn't far away.
The paradigm.
Well, the original PS1 controller was kind of just a Super Nintendo controller with handlebars, but then it got the DualShock sticks, and it's like, okay, that's where the standard sets come.
And then Xbox came out close to that time, I believe.
Yeah, but when it came out, it had this big chungus of a controller that people nicknamed the Duke because it was just so beefy and large.
I remember
it had like 2 extra buttons. It was A, B, X, Y, black and white.
I remember getting to the point where I'd go to like events or whatever, and all the kids were asking me if I had an Xbox, and I just eventually got fed up. I was like, "What is an Xbox? What is it? What?" And I asked my older brothers, and they're like, "Oh, it's dumb." I was like, "Okay, Xbox is dumb." That's all I knew about Xbox. It's kind of funny though, looking back. It's like, oh, Adam and Ryan say it's dumb. It's probably dumb.
They're reliable sources of information.
Oh, absolutely.
You're not going to tell me that lycopene is the key ingredient of blood or whatever.
No. It was no, gosh, what was it? Hemoglobin came from tomatoes.
Right. That's it. Yep.
Oh, God.
That I only disabused James of that
when
notion
I was 23
years old.
23, yeah. Yeah, because I was a really picky eater. I don't know if I've told the story in the podcast, but I'm just going to tell it anyway. I was a really picky eater, and so at one point Ryan just told me, like, you're going to get anemic, James, because if you don't have enough hemoglobin in your blood, you become anemic, and you get really sick. And hemoglobin, it's made from when you eat tomatoes. So unless you eat tomatoes, you're gonna be anemic. And I was like, no, I don't like tomatoes. And then years later, we're making dinner in the kitchen. It was probably some sort of tomato pasta thing because
that's the sort of thing I make.
Yes,
audibly Italian hands.
Yep. And I'm like, oh yeah, aren't tomatoes like good for like hemoglobin in your blood and stuff? And you just look at me like, totally that's not a thing. I was like, what is this not a thing? Is this something Ryan told you? I was like, no.
Everything clicked.
Everything clicked. I Googled it, and then I texted Ryan chewing him out.
Top 10 plot twists in real life.
Yeah. I texted him chewing me out, and he's like, you only just figured that out. Like he knew exactly what I was talking about too. Oh, it was brilliant. Quite a lovely moment. I mean, hemoglobin is a thing that's in your red blood cells.
Right,
so
absolutely.
That's the sort of thing he did though, is he would sprinkle in little pieces of truth so that it was just believable enough that I wasn't going to try to verify.
Tomatoes are red blood cells.
There you go. And that's probably where hemoglobin makes the blood red, right? So
and that's your villain origin story.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of origin stories,
we sort of talked about that a little bit. We're the Palladium Papists. I'm James.
I'm Nathan.
And I'm Riley.
I set that one up on purpose for you.
There you go. Philosophical today, right?
Indeed it is.
In a world where one man will decide whether to pull a lever and kill one man, or not pull a lever and allow 5 people to die. Find out in Philosophical.
Yes, philosophical, the part of the show where we get philosophical about films.
Indeed.
And the films we are philosophizing about today. Multiple. There's 3.5 we'll probably talk about.
Half. Oh, right.
Yeah, because we're talking about the MCU Spider-Mans starring Tom Holland.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, the first appearance of Spider-Man in Marvel. We have talked about several Marvel projects in the past, but like...
In the early days.
In the early days of the pod. But we didn't go in-depth about these, and particularly since No Way Home came out.
I mean, we went in-depth a lot, too much, but not about this one specifically.
we learned our lessons about summaries, hopefully, James.
Hey, he's been good
he's
about
been
it
better.
lately.
He's been good.
We've been barely hitting the 50-minute mark on some of these recent episodes.
Well, we have 3 movies, and we have strong opinions.
All right, let's
about
get
these
to
movies.
it. Let's get to it.
So, before even he got his own movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Spider-Man appeared in Captain America: Civil War.
With Sony making the deal to Marvel midway through production, so they had to throw him in there.
Kind of shoehorned in at the last minute. Mm-hmm. But it's at the part of the movie where Tony's like, I need to get a team to stop Cap. And so he hears about this local hero in New York who's just kind of this friendly neighborhood thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so he shows up at Peter Parker's house, kind of flirts with his Aunt May, and then takes him aside and says, "Hey,
I know who you are.
I know who you are, and I just want to know why are you doing this?" Peter Parker says something along the lines of, "Well, if you can help people, but you don't, if you have this power and you don't do something about the bad things, then the bad things happen, it's partly your fault." Which
just say it already. We'll get to that.
Which is very much in line with Iron Man's opinion on the Sokovia Accords, the laws that are being set in place to rein in the Avengers. And so he takes him under his wing. He has him fight Ant-Man, who got big and stuff. And it's just a little... He shows up. He steals Cap's shield. Has a fun little exchange. That's about his role in that movie.
Yep.
But it introduces the character to the point where Spider-Man Homecoming begins with a little clip show of Spider-Man filming himself just on the way to
doing a little video diary.
Berlin. That was
Berlin. Yeah. Happy Hogan,
Iron Man's driver,
bodyguard, best friend, kind of sort of takes him to Berlin to help with the fight on Tony's behalf, and he's making a little video diary about it. Up until the point where he gets back to New York, and Tony and Happy are dropping him off back at his aunt's apartment. I said aunt, dang it. Aunt's apartment, and she's called Aunt May, whatever. And he's like, a part of the thing too is that Tony had made Spider-Man a Spidey suit that was better than the hoodie and welding goggles setup he had going before.
Right.
He's like, you can keep the suit. Now I want you to keep going on being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And
we'll keep saying you intern at Stark Industries for your aunt and stuff, and it'll be this whole thing.
Yep.
So, cut to a different character's origin story. We flash back to 2010 New York City, just after the aftermath of the first Avengers film when aliens blew up a lot of stuff. You've got a government contractor guy here to clean up and do repairs named Adrian Toomes.
Yep.
He and his crew show up. It's like, okay, we're going to take apart this alien stuff, and we're going to load our trucks up, and we're going to send it to the dump and stuff. We're going to clean up. Then a bunch of people come up, hey, we're Damage Control. We were founded by Iron Man to help clean up. You're out of a job. He's like, you can't do this to me. I started this.
Sacrificed.
Exactly. So in the years after the fact, they pack up their stuff and go home and sulk, and they realize
sneak away with some alien tech.
Like, we have a trailer full of alien tech. What do we do with it? Well, let's build a giant flying bird suit and
like you do.
Steal a bunch of other alien tech to make more weapons.
Find a new line of business to keep my people employed.
Indeed. So that's kind of a thing going on. Flashback to modern day 2017. We've got Spider-Man in school. with his friends and stuff, being awkward, but also kind of being neglectful of his duties because he's Spider-Man in the evenings. He doesn't have time for homework. He's Spider-Man.
I'll just leave my backpack webbed in a random alley, and Aunt can always get me another one.
Exactly. So there's an incident at like a ATM where a bunch of guys with like the vulture weapons accidentally blow up the whole place and also the shop across the street. And Spider-Man's a little shaken up from that.
He's like, something fishy's going on here.
Something fishy's, big weapons.
Trying to impress the pretty girl from school.
Indeed. Accidentally revealing to his best friend that he's Spider-Man. And Ned's like, dude, you're Spider-Man. That's so cool. Mm-hmm. And he's like, no, you can't tell anybody. Aunt May doesn't even know.
Yep.
And so there's this fun like exposition scene of like Ned questioning Peter about his powers and how he got them and stuff.
And accidentally putting him up to showing off Spider-Man at the cute girl's party at
her house. Liz is the girl he likes.
Yep.
So yeah, that's the thing. So they get ready for the party and stuff. And he brought his Spider-Man suit under his clothes. And he's like, I'm not gonna swing in there. It's like, but actually, I do want to impress him because Flash is being mean, and I want to look cool in front of my friends.
Oh, what's that shiny explosion? Let me go see what that is.
Ooh, shiny! I'm gonna go over there and meet a weapons deal in progress.
Childish Gambino is trying to buy lasers.
Aaron Davis.
Yep.
He's playing who you might know as being the Prowler from Spider-Verse, but this is a different dimensions Aaron Davis.
Yep.
Anyway, so yeah, there's a
weapons deal
going on. Spider-Man breaks it up, and there's a car chase. There's a guy who has an electric punchy glove who calls himself the Shocker because he thinks he's cool, who tries to fight Spider-Man a little bit.
And Birdman grabs Spider-Man and throws him into a lake.
Yep. Then an Iron Man pops up, and his armor shows up. It's like, hey, Spider-Man, I saved you from the lake.
Because he popped a parachute, but he got caught up in it.
Yeah.
And was going to drown. But yeah.
He's like, it's not actually Iron Man in the suit. He's like remote piloting it while
from
he's
like India
somewhere else doing a thing. And it's like, dude, don't worry about the creepy vulture guy. I'm going to leave you alone. Do your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Help old ladies across the street.
And this whole time, Peter is leaving messages for Mr. Stark asking if he can do big Avengers stuff now. He's like, no, I've been getting all your messages. I'm just ignoring them because I want you to learn how to grow up a little bit and be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Spider-Man's like, but I this is big. I want to help with the big thing. He's like, no, stop.
I'm a big kid.
Anyway, during the car chase, one of the alien orb things that powers the weapons fell off of the truck. So Spider-Man takes it home and analyzes it with his friend Ned. It's like, oh, it's an energy battery thing. We're going to keep it in our bag. Also, we're going to track the bad guys where they're going in their truck.
And we're going to hack the suit to unlock its full capabilities.
Right, exactly. So they followed like the signal of the guys, the Vulture crew, and they're like going to like Washington or like the Capitol or something.
And it just so happens that this
at the high school is the high school's decathlon team is participating in like a national event tournament thing, and it's like, oh, I'm on the decathlon team. I've been shaky about it because Spider-Man stuff's getting in the way, but I'll join the team last minute. And
this is convenient.
And so they conveniently go to the Capitol. Spider-Man tries to stop the heist and accidentally gets locked in a container. Where he talks to the AI lady he has in his suit because Iron Man put him there, but turned her off because he wants
the training wheels protocol, as he calls it.
He has the training wheels up.
He wakes up locked in a Department of Damage Control storage facility, which makes, I guess, Birdman was trying to... the Vulture was trying to rob, and then he broke it up, and now he's stuck. And can't make it back in time to the decathlon, so his friends are all disappointed. They win, and they go off to the Washington Monument for a tour and stuff. Meanwhile, Ned is just sort of has the alien battery sitting in his backpack.
And it goes through the x-ray machine, and that activates it, so it starts to blow up and stuff and cause problems.
And
Spider-Man shows up just in time to save everybody in the elevator and stuff. And it's cool, but it's a bit messy.
Yep.
Meanwhile, like you got the Vulture who's all like, Spider-Man keeps messing stuff up. We can't make ends meet now. We're running short of materials and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
One of his guys is like, hey, I've got a big project we could do. He's like, no, we're not going to do the big project. We're not going to make the Avengers mad. Let's do one last thing on the Staten Island ferry, and then we'll be okay.
And then Peter figures out, wait, there's going to be a thing on the Staten Island ferry. I'm going to go do something about it. Stuff really goes sideways. It turns out the FBI was also there trying to do a bust, and stuff hits the fan.
The entire ferry gets like lasered in half, and Spider-Man tries to hold it together but can't because he's
not quite strong enough yet.
So Iron Man has to come and clean up his mess and say, "Hey, you made a mess, and I had to come clean it up. Give me back the suit. You're not
mature enough for this yet."
It's like, but I'm nothing without the suit, Mr. Stark. Well, if you're nothing without the suit, you shouldn't be wearing it.
Sound like my dad. And instead of remotely piloting the suit, it's Iron Man there himself showing. So
this time it's real.
Yep, showing how seriously he takes all this.
So anyway,
he views himself as sort of a father figure to Peter and lets him know that he's out of line.
Mm-hmm. So Peter's a little sulky. He goes home, and Aunt May's all
what the heck is
worried
wrong with
about
you?
him. It's like, you've got so many things going on. He's like, I lost the Stark internship. My life's a wreck. But Liz says she'll go to the homecoming dance with me. So let's at least look forward to that. Let's do normal
high schooler things, be good at my classes, and get ready for prom.
Yeah, let's do that focus thing. Let's focus on that. And it's not prom, it's the homecoming dance.
Homecoming dance, the other thing. I don't know. I did in high school.
Anyway, so it's the big night of the homecoming dance. Aunt May drops him off at Liz's house, and Liz's dad's going to drive them to the homecoming dance. And it's all hunky dory. It turns out her dad is Batman,
aka the Vulture.
1989 Batman, but
who at this point Peter's figured out Vulture's identity, but Vulture hasn't figured out his identity yet.
Right. So. Because Vulture doesn't like wear a mask really or anything, but it's like, oh, that's the bird guy. So it's
this whole fun sequence where it's like the awkward thing of like the kid, the boy taking the daughter to prom and the dad trying to intimidate him, but a whole extra level on top of it. Because over the course of the car ride, Birdman slowly figures out.
It's like, hey, your voice is familiar. Haven't I seen you around before? It's like, oh, Peter was at my party. And it was
this kid's frickin' Spider-Man.
Yeah, he figures out Spider-Man. It's like, okay, honey, you go in and get ready for the dance. I'm going to give Peter, the dad talk thing.
He threatens him with a gun and everything.
Now, you go in there and have a good time.
And don't interfere with me.
Don't mess with me, or I'm going to mess with you.
Yep.
And Peter's like, oh, crap, I can't do this. I have to go stop him because he's doing the big heist.
Yep.
The big heist being... the entire Avengers facility is being moved upstate from like that Stark Tower, and so there's a great big plane headed upstate from the Stark Tower that
unmanned.
Yeah, it's automated because Stark, and the Vulture's gonna intercept that and reap all the benefits, all sorts of like Ultron stuff, and
in order to put a stop to this, he has to go against what Stark told him and also what Toombs told him. Stay away from this, or you're going to face some consequences, because he knows he has to do what's right.
So he enlists some help from Ned as his guy in the chair.
Ditches Liz at the dance.
Steals a car because Spider-Man swinging isn't fast enough, apparently.
And he doesn't quite know how to drive yet.
Right, because he's like
15.
Well, he's a 20-year-old guy.
Right.
At least he looks young. At least Tom Holland looks young.
Yeah, in the movie.
So he makes it to the Vulture's base, and he's like, hey, I made you an offer, but you've refused. That wasn't a good thing.
I'm going to drop the building on you.
I'm going to drop a whole concrete parking lot on you. And he does that and then flies away. And Spider-Man has hit his lowest.
Yep.
And he reaches deep inside himself and finds the power to power through it. He's kind of proving himself that, no, I can do this. It has to be me on my own merit. Sort of a thing. Lifts the concrete off and swings off. And manages to catch.
He's wearing his original homemade suit at this point.
He doesn't have the Iron Man made suit. So yeah, Spider-Man climbs up from out of the rubble, fights the Vulture on top of a plane. He crashes the plane. the wingsuit gets damaged in the fight.
About ready to blow up, and he rescues
Adrian Toomes from the explosion. But then he gets put in jail, which makes his girlfriend sad and makes her move away. But there's this other girl who's MJ who shows interest in him.
Yep.
Kind of end of movie.
And then Tony Stark is like, you know what? I was wrong. Good job, kid. You did good. You want to be an Avenger now? And he's like, oh, this is a test, right? No, I just want to be friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. It's like, crap, that wasn't... And after he left, crap, that wasn't actually a test. We really wanted him to join the Avengers. There's a whole press corps out here. I'll propose to Pepper instead.
That seems like a big enough announcement.
Yep.
So that's the end of that movie.
And then,
the next movie, the next major thing Spider-Man does is climb aboard. Yeah, first it's Infinity War, where he climbs aboard a spaceship and helps fight Thanos, but then he gets turned to dust when Thanos snaps.
That's about all he does. He turns to dust and comes back.
He's a character point for Iron Man in those movies. So yeah, he turns to dust, but then he comes back and helps beat Thanos.
Save the day.
So Spider-Man Far From Home is like post the blip, as everyone starts calling it.
Mm-hmm.
Where Thanos snapped everybody, and people 5 years later have snapped back as if they've never left.
Yep.
So you've got like half of Peter's school is 5 years older than him, and the other half is like 5 people who are 5 years younger that are now in his grade.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately for us, all of the main characters were in the blip, so Flash and MJ and Ned are all the same age as when we left them, as is Peter, because he was part of that.
Yep.
So anyway, over the summer, him and the rest of his class are taking a field trip thing, and so he's getting ready for that. But there's also a bunch of Spider-Man stuff going on in his life, because he's a major superhero now.
Mm-hmm.
Iron Man, spoilers for...
helping, Iron Man's dead.
Iron Man's dead, so now there's a big void for who the big hero should be, and everyone's like, hey, Spider-Man, you're wearing an Iron Man suit. What's it like to be the next Iron Man? And he's like, I don't know. I'm just going to go hide by people.
And he inherits these special glasses from Tony.
Yeah.
That house the what's the name of the AI? Edith, yeah. The
Even
AI.
Dead, I'm the Hero is the acronym.
Yep. So basically leaving the power of Stark technology and anime on his side. So he's like, dang, this is a big responsibility. I have all these drones and tech I'm in charge of. This is a lot. I just want to get away from it all and go on a European field trip with my friends.
Well, by the way, Nick Fury, he's calling you, Spider-Man. He wants to talk to you.
Nah.
It's like, no, I don't want to talk to Nick Fury. I gotta go make the moves on MJ. I got her this black orchid pendant thing, and I'm gonna give it to her on top of the Eiffel Tower or something.
Meanwhile, these elemental beings have shown up and attacked random cities, or seemingly random cities, and it turns out that's what Samuel L. Fury is trying to talk to Spider-Man about to try to help him out.
There's also a new mysterious guy that popped up. It's like, hi, I'm a hero from another dimension where these guys ruined my timeline. I'm here to stop them here because they're big bad news.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is a thing that is totally believable.
And then Donnie Darko starts buddying up to Peter and, recognizing him. It's like, hey, you're special, you're important, you're smart.
Right, because Nick Fury's like, hey, Spider-Man, you don't ghost me. I'm here, and there's going to be a bad guy here. So you better help us out with that. And this mysterious Mysterio Mans is going to help us because he's the one that knows things.
Yep. So as they're going from city to city, it just so happens that these elemental attacks are happening there as well.
Well, it doesn't just so happen. It's that S.H.I.E.L.D. is redirecting their school trip covertly
around where these attacks
to make
are supposed to be.
Exactly, to where these attacks are predicted.
So Peter and Jake Darko start fighting the fire monster in, what was it, Prague?
He had previously run across the water monster in Venice and stuff, and there's this whole thing where he's like, where they meet and stuff.
Yep.
And Mysterio is like all over the news, like this big new mysterious hero that people are like, oh, he's cool. He's like Iron Man plus
and he
Doctor
left
Strange.
left the suit behind, so now he takes on the alter ego of Night Monkey.
Right, with like this second costume that S.H.I.E.L.D. made for him. Yeah.
So in the course of the battle, a weird object goes flying off of the fire monster, and MJ picks it up. It's like, huh, that's weird. And over the course of this time, she accidentally finds out that Peter is Spider-Man.
She doesn't accidentally. She kind of suspects for like an entire movie and a half.
And she guesses it ironically, and she's like, oh crap, I was right. And she's like, what's this thing I found? It's a projector for a hologram. Oh crap. Mysterio's faking it, but I gave the super special glasses to him because, Peter throughout this trip has been struggling with, the responsibility of these glasses. So he's like,
and also all the power that they have.
Yeah, you know what? You're an adult. You're Mysterio. You seem like a cool guy.
You look like Iron Man the sequel more than I do. You should have the Iron Man glasses.
He's like, oh no, please.
Oh, please don't. No, I'll do it.
Spider-Man leaves, and he's like, hey, by the way, I'm evil.
My evil plan worked. Because it turns out he's a salty former employee of Tony Stark.
Specializing in holograms.
And turns out he has an entire crew of salty employees of Tony Stark who are like, yeah, let's make an Avengers level threat.
Me and the kid from A Christmas Story are going to make these elemental monsters fight me and make me look cool. And MJ and Peter accidentally figured out the plan.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's this...
Mysterio finds out that they knew that he knew that they knew. So he has a confrontation with Spider-Man and tries to kill him.
And he's got all these holograms, and it's super trippy and like straight out of the comic books at some point. And it's like he's confusing the heck out of Spider-Man. And he's like, I don't know what to do. And it's like, but you have your spider sense, right? But you're not using it.
Mm-hmm.
So later, they all go back to New York. But
London.
No, it is London. Oh yeah,
the next major battle is with the quote unquote elemental is in London,
right? Because they've air quotes combined into like the ultimate elemental, and now I've got to stop them. It's an Avengers level threat,
which also is a convenient way for Mysterio to kill Spidey's friends if he interferes with the plan.
Mm-hmm.
And so Happy comes and rescues him from prison in Holland because that happened somehow, and gives him a pep talk like, no, you're not Tony Stark.
You really can't be.
Yeah, he messed up too. It happens. You need to become your own person, your own hero. And so
go into the back Iron Man suit designing room and make your own suit.
Which he does, and then he goes off to London.
To fight Mysterio. So there's like a whole sequence where he's webbing up the drones and stuff and stopping stuff, and Nick Fury does a couple of things, and then there's a final confrontation with Mysterio on like the London Bridge, where Mysterio once again does the illusory hologram thing, but this time Spider-Man does his unique Spider-Man thing and trusts his spider sense, his Peter Tingle as they've been calling it throughout the movie humorously, and senses his way through the illusions and stops Mysterio. And retakes control of the drones and tells them to blow up.
In the process of the fight, though, Mysterio is struck by a stray bullet from one of the drones because he ordered them to fire even though he was in the kill zone.
Mm-hmm.
And dies.
Yep. And
he just freaking dies. And they all go home. And Peter's like, oh,
happily ever after, right?
Yep, let's go on a date.
And so they're on this date, and when on the news should show up none other than J. Jonah Jameson's like, we have exclusive footage of Mysterio, the late hero who saved us in England, who was killed by Spider-Man. Look at this footage. It's like, hi,
Spider-Man killed me.
Also, his name is Peter Parker.
Oh crap! Everybody knows who Spider-Man is.
Dun, dun.
And that is the cliffhanger that movie leaves us on. That is the end of No Way Home.
Mm-hmm.
That's the end of Far From Home. No Way Home is the next
one
movie.
Of the homes.
Nathan.
It's the homie movie.
Too many.
The homie.
All
homie
the movies
trilogy.
are home movies.
The homie trilogy.
All my homies like Spider-Man.
There's probably Black Spider-Man somewhere.
That's lit.
I was just figuring that you being from Queens and all.
Fighting for the people and stuff.
So No Way Home begins almost immediately following Far From Home, where now everybody knows Peter Parker is
He's trying
Spider-Man.
to run home and break the news to Happy and Aunt May, and There's news helicopters outside the house. It's a whole big mess. They get arrested.
They get arrested. They get questioned. But Spider-Man gets a good lawyer.
A very good lawyer.
A very good lawyer. A very blind lawyer who's a reference.
He's excellent at catching pricks.
Excellent.
Even though he's blind.
Yes. Or because he's blind. But he doesn't show up beyond it's Daredevil, but it's only a cameo. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so he gets out of like the legal trouble, but there's still just all this social, societal stuff where it's like, Spider-Man's a murderer. We don't
Even though he was cleared of wrongdoing, like everybody still thinks he's a murderer.
The court of public opinion is harder to sway than the actual court. So
and just because they're associated with Spider-Man, like Ned and MJ are having difficulty getting into MIT, and so is Peter. So he's like, man, this is really sucking for me, everybody I care about. Oh, wait.
Do you know what would be great? If I could just wish this problem away.
Wait a minute. I know a wizard.
Hi, Doctor Strange. And Doctor Strange is like, hi, I'm just in my house that's casually filled with snow.
I'm going to inexplicably agree to alter people's memories of the things you've done.
It's like, yeah, could you just make everyone forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man? That'd be great.
Except for the people I care about, and that breaks the spell.
I'm already halfway through the spell. You're messing it up. It's like, oh, sorry, I should have mentioned that before. It's like, nope, we're shutting it down and containing it. We're going to put this spell in a box for a bit, and we'll deal with it later. I'm disappointed in you for not making this through. Ice, bud. You could have just called MIT back. You could have just talked to people. You didn't talk to the... It's like, oh...
Did you at least call them on a phone? Call them?
You can do that. Which is actually the most relatable part of the whole movie. Yep. It's like, oh yeah, talking to people, advisors and stuff. So no, Spider-Man starts running after the MIT lady who was at like a recruiting fair thing.
He's just like, hey ma'am, I know that I suck, but if you could at least have mercy on my friends and let them into MIT, that'd be great.
Also, is that a portal in the middle of the bridge?
Also, is that a freaking mechanical claw?
Oh, is that a guy from a separate movie entirely? He's like, hello, Peter. Dr. Octopus shows up from the actual Spider-Man 2 movie.
Oh my gosh, it's Alfred Molina.
That's an Alfred Molina. Oh no.
Dr. Octopus.
So yeah, they have an encounter on the bridge. It's like, hey, Peter, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm gonna...
You're not my Peter.
Well, it's like, hey, hold on, you're not my Peter. And Spider-Man's wearing his Iron Man armor that's like all nanotechy. He manages to get some of that integrated into the Dr. Octopus arm so he can hold him hostage.
Yep.
There was also just a pumpkin-shaped bomb that landed on the bridge and blew stuff up.
Freaking Green Goblin shows up.
Oh no, he runs away though. Spider-Man. He laughs his way off into the distance. So Spider-Man takes Dr. Octopus to Doctor Strange's house and it's like, hi.
I found a thing.
This is a guy. And Doctor Strange's like, yeah, I know this is a guy. He's
There's a bunch of these people from different dimensions just running around.
Apparently a lot of people know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man out there in the multiverse. Yes, this is the multiverse. This is the...
Yep, it's a thing. Get used to it. Watch Loki if you're confused. Just follow along. Keep up.
Anyway, so there's about four more of these guys out there. So
take this magic lasso and go bring them in here so we can lock them up until we can send them back to the dimensions.
Here's Spider-Man. Here's a magic suit. Wear a magic suit for a bit.
Yep.
And so he goes out and finds Electro and finds Sandman and Lizard, and then we're missing is Green Goblin, and he's like, and
shows up to the homeless shelter that Aunt May operates.
He's like, I had nowhere else to go. I saw Spider-Man on the sign, and I knew he'd help me.
Yep.
And so they're like, oh, cool. So we got you all. You're all ready to go back home, right? We can push the button. And Dr. Octopus is all like, I know you, Norman. You died a couple of years ago.
Wait a minute. All of us died after meeting Spider-Man, apparently.
Well, except for Lizard.
Except for Lizard.
But nobody really cares about
and Sandman.
And Sandman. Nobody cares.
But nobody cares.
But anyway, Spider-Man's like, oh wait, they're gonna die if we send them back. Hey Doc, let's not send them back right now. Maybe we can help them. And it's like
maybe we can make them moral people, and
by
doing that will make them not be dead.
Let's see if we can fix their psychosis. So let's fix. I mean, in Doc Ock's case, he actually was a good guy. His brain got fried by the arms who are in control of him. So he fixes the arms. Like, hey, I'm normal now.
But there's a bit of a tussle where it's like, no, we need to end this spell as soon as possible, so I'm just going to push the button, and Spider-Man's like, hey, but how about no?
I'm going to use geometry to keep Doctor Strange locked up in
the mirror dimension. I'm going to steal your sling ring and just kind of jet out of here. Bye. Have fun in the mirror dimension.
I'm going to have to send you to the Columbo dimension.
We're going to the Shadow Realm.
He's out of the way until the third act. So he does these little things to try to help fix the problems of the guys. So he, takes away the Electro from Electro,
but
he tries to take the Lizard out of Lizard, and he tries to take the Sand out of Man, and he's about ready to take the Goblin out of Green. And
here's the thing:
Green Goblin hijacks the whole thing.
Well, also, Electro is like, hey, I don't have a dumb costume in this dimension. I don't have blue lightning. I'm actually yellow and more comic accurate with my lightning. I like being in this dimension. I like being powerful. Also, I like that arc reactor over there. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna actually
yoink.
I'm gonna yoink the anti-Electro device off of me, steal that thing, and help Green Goblin cause mayhem. And Lizard's just like, I want to turn everyone into lizards. Because that's the plot of Amazing Spider-Man 1.
Sandman's like, I don't trust anybody. I'm getting out of here.
I want to go home to my daughter. She's sick.
That makes it okay for me to break the law.
I'm not a bad person.
And so anyway, Spider-Man gets into a big battle with Green Goblin. And in the tussle, Aunt May gets clipped by the glider.
Yep. And then he...
and in classic movie fashion, makes every effort to hide it until she's beyond the point of saving.
And she tells Peter, great power comes great responsibility, and plots.
So he goes off to
We had no Uncle Ben to do it in this universe, so somebody had to.
Aunt May's dead.
So Spider-Man goes off to
runs away from the cops.
Yeah. Meanwhile, MJ and Ned are extremely worried about Spider-Man with all the stuff going on. MJ has the box that'll send them back to their home worlds and stuff. But they're like, well, we gotta find Spider-Man. Where's Spider-Man?
Oh, Ned stole the sling, or not the sling ring. The
Doctor Strange teleporter ring. Hey, you said you were magic. Can you try using it? It's like, okay.
My grandma says I have a little bit of magic in me.
So he's like, he tries to use it. It's like, okay, can you find us Peter Parker, please?
He finds Peter Parker.
He finds Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker. Mm-hmm. He's like, "Oh, hi, I'm Peter Parker." It's like, "No, you're not. We know Peter Parker." He's like,
"But I'm Peter Parker. I can do the Spidey thing." Oh crap!
Oh yeah, you can do the Spidey thing. What is up with that?
There's another Spider-Man.
Well, let's go find the actual Peter Parker, and they find the actual Peter Parker by many people's definition.
But it's Maguire.
But it's Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker. It's like, "Hi, I had to beat an old lady with a stick to get these cranberries."
They're like, okay, let's go find our Peter Parker. So they go to the high school roof.
And it's like, hi, I'm Spider-Man, and this is Spider-Man.
Oh crap, you lost your aunt. We lost our uncle.
And Garfield also lost his girlfriend, and it was the big sad. But you know what they say? With great power comes great responsibility. They all say in like unison. It's like, yeah. So you're trying to send these people back to your home dimensions. We don't know interdimensional time travel. The weirdest it got in our dimensions was an alien.
But hey, we've got a high school lab, so let's make all the cures for these people and try to, lure them out into a big fight so we can fix them and send them back to their home dimensions.
Sounds like a plan. And so that's what they do. They set up the cures for everybody.
Have good Peter bonding time.
Have some good Peter bonding time.
They do the point.
They do the point. They do the hey. You don't have web shooters. You just shoot them out of your hand. That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they get their plan ready. They meet they challenge the villains to one final duel on the Statue of Liberty, which is being renovated to have Captain America's shield added to it because that's a thing.
Yep.
And so they hang out on top of the Statue of Liberty for a bit, and they're like, okay, MJ, when everybody's ready to go, you just press the button on the box and send them all home.
Mm-hmm. Big battle.
They save a couple of people.
They work
Doc
together.
Ock didn't need saving. He was still intact, and so he shows up and helps them halfway through. MJ falls off a roof and gets saved by Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man.
And a little bit of redemption for him. Kind of a nice feels moment.
Indeed. Then they get everybody except Green Goblin shows up, and Tom Holland's all like, "Grr, I'm very mad at you for killing
Revenge
my aunt.
times.
So it's time to murder a goblin with his own glider. How about?" Mm-hmm. And Toby Peter's like, "No, don't stick the guy with his own glider."
Because my whole thing is revenge is bad, and I'm here to tell you that revenge is bad. And Green Goblin stabs him. But it's okay. He's okay.
But then he gets ungoblin juiced, and
Doctor Strange shows up, and he's like, "Hey, we got to get these people out of here."
Because the entire universe is falling apart, it's kind of a mess. It's like, well...
And Toby's like, "I'm kind of bleeding out here."
Didn't they, like, break the spell box, too? And it was like, oh, that's not good.
Yep.
And he's like, well, how about a new spell that just makes everyone forget Peter Parker entirely? And it's like, but you have friends and family and stuff. And it's like, yeah, but at this point... It doesn't really matter because it's either that or the interdimensional war that's impending. Also, I see classic villain characters' silhouettes coming through that
portal. We can't have that be any more than a reference. Let's get this done.
And so he does it. There's a little bit of a goodbye between friends, and suddenly nobody remembers who Spider-Man is, and everybody goes home. Well, nobody remembers who Peter Parker is, I should say. Yep. Spider-Man is still a thing people are aware of.
Yep.
But
like nobody knows who he is. So he has no school, no aunt. Poor Peter Parker. So he's going to study for his GED. He gets himself an apartment and makes himself a homemade Spider-Man suit. And
makes the acquaintance of his former friends, but doesn't pursue it any further, kind of leaving it hanging.
Because he realizes that if he's going to keep doing Spider-Man stuff, he doesn't want them to be harmed by his life, so he leaves them be.
So he's got a fresh start going. Anyway, that's the end of Far From Home.
He's more of the traditional Spider-Man at the end.
At this point.
So yeah, that's 3 movies in 20 minutes.
So cool stuff.
Yep.
For starters, this is like you said at the end, he didn't really get a great power or Spider-Man moment until the 3rd movie.
Yep.
And that's a common complaint with these movies was like for the first 2, he felt like Iron Man Jr., which I feel like is actually kind of his arc in these movies.
Yeah, and it wasn't really an unfair criticism, but I think this movie, the 3rd movie, put it to rest. Yeah,
and actually, because honestly, this is the MCU. This is a kid who grew up idolizing Iron Man as a hero, right?
Like the rest of us.
Like, yeah. So everybody. So basically, his idea of what a hero looks like in the Marvel universe is Iron Man. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, well, if I'm gonna be a hero with my powers,
I have tech, I can be a hero.
I can be Iron Man. I think I need to be Iron Man because that's what superheroes look like, right? And so he tries doing that, and he tries doing that all throughout Homecoming, and utterly fails, just horribly.
Yep.
Throughout at every corner.
Bad news.
Iron Man comes in to save the day, like a good dad, but it's like if you can't. You can't be me. I don't want you to be me because I'm Iron Man.
I want you to be better.
Exactly. And so if you can't do things on your own merit, if you can't use your own powers, make your own way, you shouldn't have all this power if you can't do it responsibly.
Everything that the light touches you can do, Peter, but what's that over there? That is the Staten Island Ferry. You must never go there.
It's the Hudson River.
You must never go there.
So that's kind of his arc in the first movie, where it's like you don't have to, and that's continued into Far From Home, where now that Iron Man's gone, other people expect him to be Iron Man. Mm-hmm. Peter Parker himself maybe doesn't expect himself to be Iron Man, particularly not anymore.
But he realizes he does sort of need to take up responsibility in his life and use his power for good.
Right, but it's just. Other people have this expectation that he's Iron Man.
You can't completely shunt off that responsibility.
In fact, Tony Stark himself kind of forces this expectation of him being the next Iron Man onto him by giving him the Edith glasses, right? But when he sees somebody that looks more like Iron Man, he's like, hey, you're the hero that can be the big-time hero. You can have the glasses. That's a bad mistake.
He left himself open to be manipulated.
Right. So by the end of that movie, he's more resolved to... Well, now he's been outed as being Spider-Man.
Yep.
But like the final confrontation, he doesn't rely on the Stark tech. He doesn't rely on his suit. He relies on his Spider-Maniness. his Peter tingle, as they call it.
Yep.
The spider sense.
Which is sort of an echo of the end of the first movie too, where he has to use his inner strength to get himself out of a pile of rubble.
Exactly.
Yeah. He can't fit himself into this Iron Man mold. He can only realize his mission by pursuing who he truly is.
Yep.
Right.
So each movie kind of reinforces that.
And for No Way Home, we have this self-discovery by looking at himself through alternate lenses.
Mm-hmm.
You've got these two other Peter Parker Spider-Men who are kind of like the good ending and the bad ending almost.
Yep.
Where Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is a bit older and he's more experienced and he's been through a lot and made his mistakes, but he's learned from them.
Yep.
Right? You get the feeling that he's still working on himself, but he knows where to go.
In fact, in that little exchange he has with Doc Ock, he's like, "How have you been? I've been better. I've been trying to
trying to do better."
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you've got Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, where
pretty much everything's gone wrong.
Yeah, his girlfriend died, and he was the kind of one who snapped her neck. It was either that or her hitting the floor, but it was he's just in a very dark place.
Yep.
He's been
trying to be Spider-Man again, but still dealing with crippling loss.
And so through that experience with Tom Holland and both of them kind of imparting their wisdom and their like experience, it's like, yeah, this is what Spider-Man does. Spider-Man saves people.
Yep. And then
he can't save everybody, but he can try at least.
And Toby's helps, Tom Holland Spider-Man to realize that revenge is purely destructive, and killing Green Goblin isn't going to bring Aunt May back and all that stuff. Like, revenge is very destructive. Which, until watching that movie, I hadn't really thought of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies that way. But looking back, I was like, oh yeah, that is kind of
his core theme is revenge.
Yep.
Almost. And ultimately at the end, like, every time there's a goblin character in the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans, the glider always hits them on accident. And so him stopping the glider from piercing Norman was like, good move.
Also, yeah, like sort of a redemption for him, reverse, because instead of allowing the glider to kill Dr. Osborn, he stops it.
Mm-hmm. And of course, there's Andrew Garfield, whose girlfriend fell off a tower and died at the bottom. And
during the battle, MJ's fallen off the tower, and he manages to save her in a almost shot for shot, like recreation of the exact moment, except for this time.
Tom Holland initially jumped down to catch her, but then he got swept up by goblins, so Garfield showed up and saved her.
And this time he did the move differently, where he catches her with his with his arms and stuff, and then uses the webs to slow both of their descent.
Right, instead of grabbing her and then having the jolt to a stop, snap her neck back, like Gwen Stacy did in Amazing Spider-Man 2. Electro Boogaloo.
Yeah, there's too much really to
not
go
going to
over.
summarize the other movies, but like their character points are there.
Lots of cool things that we could go on and on about in the MCU Spider-Man films, but in interest of time, I suppose we should.
Those are like the core themes that they go over, the core arc that this Peter Parker goes through. You could honestly, No Way Home alone had a lot of just like really cool service to the whole series.
I know, that's what I was thinking. No Way Home Alone.
Where he sets traps for some New York City goons. That would be immensely entertaining.
I mean, they set a trap for a bunch of goons in New York City in No Way Home.
I guess that's true. But it wasn't.
He wasn't alone, though.
They channeled their inner Coldplay and tried to fix them. So yeah,
which is one
lots
of
of
my
cool
main
stuff.
criticisms of the movie. But we don't really have time for me to rant about how much I didn't like. The
main issue with No Way Home was Doctor Strange doing dumb, but it was also what had to happen to make the movie happen.
Yeah,
right.
And also, we can
which
talk about that.
So
in
contrived.
Truth. We can talk about
it was all nostalgia bait.
Yeah,
like the entire movie. That's all it was.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah,
but because Hollywood doesn't want to do anything original. All they want to do is safe nostalgia from people who were kids in the early 2000s and the 90s and who now have money to spend. Hollywood has no creative vision. They have no... it just makes me so frustrated that they'll never do anything creative or risky or venturous ever again because they've got so many things to refer back to.
Yeah.
Although I will say, they did write by the Tobey and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man characters.
Sure, they did.
In the writing of it.
The fact that they part were was in the movie is what I'm objecting to.
Right.
Like to begin with, yeah.
It's like the reasons behind them putting in there were not purely in service for the story, even though it was on the other side of the decision.
They wrote a story that fit their presence. They didn't,
yeah,
fit their presence into the pre-existing narrative arc that Tom's Spider-Man was going through.
Yeah. Anyway.
But
and you also can't make people good just by taking away their capacity to do evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the movie actually does...
You can't fix people if they're unwilling to be fixed, which it sort of makes a point of demonstrating, but
especially
the whole thing was
Goblin's
so
character.
incredibly naive to begin with that Aunt May should have seen through it, but...
I think her folly there was like being so altruistic and trying to help people and pushing Peter to do the same.
Which
like she
is
runs
precisely the problem of altruism. That's why I go on about altruism being a terrible word to use, because it really is an atheistic morality.
Yeah.
It's something that disregards one's own good, which is not something that the Catholic moral vision talks about. You don't, help other people to your own detriment. That's not what the vision is supposed to be, but under an altruistic way of thinking, that's morally correct to do, to damage yourself in order
to the point of being killed by a person you tried to help.
Right. It's perfectly reasonable to, preserve your own life rather than trying to get yourself involved with that sort of thing. So it's something that's totally unteleological, unvirtuous. It's just like, you must do this because it's the right thing because it is.
And Aunt May dies because of all like that attitude. I mean, you can't fault her for wanting to be charitable to people in need, but
it's not charity. It's altruism. There's a massive difference between those two things, and that's something the modern world can't recognize because they've destroyed virtue and made it about these are the rules because there's the rules.
True.
You have to help them because you have to help them. There's no further explanation. There's no telos.
And then, what was the other point I had? It's escaping me.
Well, while we're...
Oh, yeah, and I suppose, like, Green Goblin, like, is sort of the proof of why that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because it's not like some weird thing made him evil. He was a bad guy before he became the Green Goblin.
Yeah.
And that whole debacle only made him more...
It removed his inhibitions. It didn't change his core personality. It just kind of amplified the negative of it a little bit.
Yep.
And there was a lot of negative to go around.
Yep. I suppose we can get into the transcendentals here. We already sort of started that with truth.
A little bit. So, with the truth.
So, what would be... I guess we could expand more on the distinction between charity and altruism. So, as Catholics then, how must we view charity?
Well, charity is defined classically as the love to will the good of the other for the other's sake. And there are a number of things in especially No Way Home where that's not the case. You're sort of, I think, willing the good of the other is present, but it's really essentially a selfish thing. It's like, I have to do this because it's the right thing and I'll feel bad if I don't do it. That's not really a good motivation to do things. That's not genuine caritas, You aren't willing the good of the other for their sake. You're willing the good of the other for your own sake. furthermore, without getting too into the weeds on the underpinnings of it, altruism just sort of says this is what you have to do because you have to do it. Because the Enlightenment is seeking after objective moral standards
with no foundation,
rather universal moral standards that are ultimately subjective. Which,
while pretending
if you
that
think
there's
about
a
it
foundation.
Thinking about it for 2 seconds leads you to understand that that's not tenable.
It's kind of circular.
Also,
it's not circular, but nothing can be universal and subjective. It has to be objective to be universal.
Also, there's the fact that say that fixing them, air quotes, would only really be effective in one case because Doc Ock and Electro were literally about to die when they got yoinked from their universe. Mm-hmm. Sandman and Lizard were going to get cured and okay anyway, and the only one who would have benefited was the only person who was impossible to truly save.
Yep. That being Green Goblin.
So there's that.
It's clear that no character in this movie thought about anything for more than 1 second. Mm-hmm. Especially the one who should have thought about it for more than 1 second, Doctor Strange.
Yep.
Yeah.
But again, the whole movie was written in order to throw in nostalgia characters. So it doesn't have to make sense. We just have to sell tickets.
It sold tickets, all right. Yeah.
Although I do think, like, from the standpoint of the people making the movie, cared about Spider-Man and the legacy of the last 20 odd years or so of Spider-Man.
So they did the best they could with under the requirements.
Yeah.
I think they did the best they could under the framework under which they were raised.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I suppose. Let's see. What are some other elements of, like, looking at the 3 movies all together? Are there any other elements of, like, truth we can pull from that?
You are your own unique person.
Yes. You
are called to a unique calling. It may be similar to other people, but it's going to be uniquely you. Mm-hmm. So you can't be. You're not your heroes. You're not your saints. You are uniquely you. You're going to be your own unique kind of hero, your own unique kind of saint in what you're called to do.
Mm-hmm. And you can draw inspiration from the examples of your predecessors, but ultimately you can't just do what they did because you're not called to do what they did. You're called to do whatever it is that you're called to do.
Because what they did was out of their own calling, their own skills and abilities, their gifts that they were given to then...
Gifts and talents used for the service of the church.
Yeah. This day of the life of the church, we just watch as Iron Man sacrifices his life to save humanity. But yeah, there's as Catholics, that's kind of how we view vocation in like our uppercase and lowercase v sort of ways. Also our charisms and gifts that we are given in order to benefit, ourselves and God's plan for us, as well as like turn those gifts outwards towards others in an ordered fashion. Mm-hmm. Ultimately in service of God who gave those things to us.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Spider-Man has always been a coming of age story, but this one is kind of unique in that he's coming into his own out of like
he ends the third movie very much on his own and doing Spider-Man his own way now. Yeah, that's kind of where it's left him. Any other truths we can talk about in the Spider-Man's goodness? What is good in the Spider-Man trilogy, the Tom Holland trilogy?
MJ and Ned are
Spider-Man
very
good friends.
He has good friends.
That's the other thing. Supporting cast.
Yeah, that's another key element to one's personal development is those who bring out the best in you, surrounding you.
And the thing is, Spider-Man, like in his superheroing thing, is kind of alone a lot of the time. But having, Ned be his guy in the chair as support, having MJ
be MJ,
be in on it, and also supporting him, it's really awesome. It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Aunt May is the supportive aunt.
Her, basically his mom.
basically his mom, yeah. And even Happy eventually kind of grows into a
sort of a dad.
Maybe not dad.
Uncle.
Cool uncle.
Yeah.
Or uncool uncle who thinks he's cool.
Yep.
But they still like him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like this Spider-Man has a good support group until, nobody remembers that Peter Parker exists
until they're
anymore.
all gone.
And then he's got to... We'll figure out what he does from there.
If anything, we'll see if they plan on continuing the Tom Holland Spider-Man.
Right.
I think the trajectory of the movies is perfect to never make one again.
But will they?
They sort of...
We will see.
If there's
I do agree that it's a good place to leave it.
It's a good place to leave it, yeah.
I mean, maybe they could make him show up in a couple crossover movies, but he'll just be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think the core of Spider-Man is also good.
Yes. The power responsibility thing.
Yeah. If you can get away from the altruism. I think traditionally Spider-Man is much more of a cares for others, cares for the city, and wants
He's part of his community.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Friendly neighborhood, indeed. So he desires to serve his community in order to protect the common good.
Yep.
Because he has the power to serve his community in that way, and therefore it's a responsibility he has.
Mm-hmm. And to protect those he cares about. Which is sort of, I guess, every superhero in some way or another. But Spider-Man is, in a lot of ways, he is up there with, like, Batman and Superman in, like, the classic superhero archetypes.
Right. But I feel like, unlike Batman and Superman, he's like the everyman's hero.
Yep.
Because everybody's been, has felt like Peter Parker at some point in their life.
Mm-hmm. So
he has this, like, really great amount of relatability that has been his greatest asset since he was first introduced.
Yep.
In, like, the 60s. So, yeah.
Beauty. Great.
MCU production quality.
They're standard Marvel fare. They're high
which is sort of a what's the word I'm looking for? Is sort of a little bit of an understatement when you consider like the broader range of movies and special effects and execution cinematography. They're actually quite remarkable when you look at it. If you watch, I mean, not to say that it's necessarily better because of it, but if you see how far movies have come, even from the Maguire Spider-Mans with effects and cinematography to now, it's quite impressive. Every Marvel movie at this point is just a ridiculous filmmaking achievement in terms of execution.
They're like the Pixar of live action.
Pretty much.
Kind of.
Except they're still just doing animation.
Pretty much.
But there's people in it too.
But there's green screen.
But they make the people look really realistic.
Yep.
Instead of like blocks or something. I don't know.
But it's cooler than animation because it's real.
Really animation.
I'm waiting for the Disney live action remake of VeggieTales.
I'm Pickle Rick. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
Anyway.
Also, they've got a solid score.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, who does it? Michael. Last name begins with
Upstate New York.
Yeah.
Upstate New York.
Let's see. No, not Rotten Tomatoes. Composer.
Danny Elfman.
Was it Danny Elfman? Michael Giacchino?
Yeah. Danny Elfman did the original three.
The Sam Raimi's. Yeah.
Sam Raimi's, yeah.
Yep.
No, but he does a good job.
Yeah.
Kind of catches his own vibe of Spider-Man.
Definitely watch these movies. They're good fun.
Oh, yes. Good fun.
Unity, what brings everything together.
Oddly, Iron Man.
Yeah.
Because even, like, the villains of the first two movies are a comment on, like, Spider-Man's relation to Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this idolization of his heroism. That
he's forced to face, like, sort of the
dark side of Iron Man.
Iron Man's legacy, yeah.
Yeah. In order to come to terms with the fact that you can't be Iron Man. because, well, ultimately Iron Man made this.
I suppose all of the villains in the Holland trilogy is disgruntled former enemies of Iron Man and Spider-Man.
Yeah. The enemies in No Way Home have a direct connection to the other Peter Parkers, but in 1 and 2, it's their direct connection to Iron Man. So it's this, because everyone is like kind of hyper focused on Iron Man as this hero, and so that's what Spider-Man tries to be, but ultimately can't.
Yep.
So it's the separation of Iron Man the man and Iron Man the ideal a little bit.
So the true unifying principle of these 3 movies is remember, be yourself.
So it's
and with great power comes.
Right.
Stop saying that. I'm sick of it. Different movie.
I am so excited for Across the Spider-Verse later this year. Oh my gosh.
More Spider-Verse. Gotta have it.
More.
It to me.
Give it. Part
Straight
1.
into my veins.
So yeah.
If you want more of the Palladium Papists, what can you do?
Straight into your veins? Well, thanks for listening to the Palladium Papists, you weirdo. You can listen to us on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts, and leave a rating to let us know what you think of the show. Also, how on earth you got audio waves into your veins. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Papists, and if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, or suggestions for future episodes, email us at palladiumpapists@gmail.com. And we will talk to you in the great episode 100.
So what
later.
Is it Stitcher where they get the injection needles?
Oh, no, that's after.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.